Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I'm going to chat with you guys a little bit about why it is a bad idea if you have serious training goals to follow a vegan diet. Now, the arguments that people always make are, well, if it's carefully planned out, right? If it's carefully planned out and you use appropriate supplements, that a vegan diet can equal an omnivorous diet. Notice I say omnivorous, not carnivore, because carnivore is equally moronic to veganism. That it can equal it in terms of quality and ability to fuel athletic performance, gain muscle, recover, things like that. And yes, that is true. That is true. But what people need to think about is the margin of error is very, very high there. It's very high. Meaning, if you're not supplementing B12, you will have problems. And there's been a lot of data out there that suggests, and plenty of experts who agree with this, that B12 deficiency, one of the biggest problems in vegans, for example, is permanent. There is permanent neurological damage. So if you became a vegan for a few years, didn't supplement B12, and you made that mistake, just going back to eating meat or supplementing with B12 may not fix your problems. Okay, there are permanent issues to this. I know vegans who, again, due to the nature of the diet, have suffered permanent issues with their GI tract. Because, again, humans are not herbivores. We are not intended to eat extremely high amounts of fiber all the time. Right there, so there's a lot of problems here. There's deficiencies, there's other issues. And I'm going to say that's one of your big ones right there, right off the bat. And before we get into the fact that even if you do it right, there's still problems. But okay, so here's one of your issues, getting sufficient protein. You not only have to get sufficient grams, you have to factor in bioavailability. Notice I did not say complete proteins. I'm not going to have that argument because that's not what I'm arguing. It's not the point I'm making. We're talking about bioavailability, the ability for your intestine to absorb all the amino acids into your bloodstream. They're not equal on a gram for gram basis, right? It's not just about quality of the protein, it's about bioavailability. You cannot absorb as high of a percentage of your plant-based proteins usually as you can animal-based, and the amount varies from food source to food source. It varies. So protein, getting sufficient protein can be problematic, and we're not just talking about for muscle growth, we're talking about recovery, connective tissue, all these things. It becomes problematic, and it can be solved with protein powders. You're not going to solve it with just food planning. This is an area where you kind of need supplementation because you need more grams if it's plant-based. So you're forced to supplement because you can't really do it without protein powders. You're probably not going to be able to do it because, again, the fiber gets so high. Again, try eating 250 grams of plant source protein with no protein powders. I think a lot of you are going to realize very quickly this is a problem. This is a big problem. And it has to do with just excessive amounts of fiber. Okay, that excessive amount of fiber is not only going to cause gastrointestinal distress, it can cause health problems, right? It can cause serious health problems. It can interfere with your performance because you're too full all the time. This is a problem. Supplementation to some extent can help, but even then, a lot of those supplements taste horrifically bad. A lot of them are still chock full of a fair amount of fiber. Again, a lot of gastrointestinal distress and things noted in a lot of people. There's no easy way around this. But then what are you doing? You're sitting around drinking protein shakes all day, and usually pretty unpalatable ones at that. Most vegan protein shakes do not taste very pleasant. It's hard enough to make any protein shake taste great. It takes a lot of work. Vegan ones are particularly difficult. Instead of actually eating real food, you're having to sit around drinking tons of shakes. Then we get over to the rest of the issue, the difficulty of it. It is hard to reach your physical goals, right? Getting in shape. Look how big the actual industry is and the market is for these things. For dietitians, for trainers, for coaches, because it's difficult. The average person does not have the knowledge to do these things on their own oftentimes, at least efficiently. That's why people like me make a living as strength coaches. Because the average person isn't going to commit 20,000 hours of their life to researching this stuff and figuring out how to do it themselves. It's easier for most people to hire a professional because of the learning curve involved. And even then, even people who are trainers, I coach people who are personal trainers and things themselves. At any given time, 20% of my own clients are trainers or coaches. They still need to hire people to get them to their goals because they're used to working with people at a lower level than them. Same thing, we come over to nutritionists, dietitians. It's a whole profession. It's difficult to obtain all of the knowledge that you need to reach your physical and your fitness goals. It often requires outsourcing knowledge and hiring professionals. It is very, very difficult. It's a lot of work to reach our goals. It's a lot of work to reach peak fitness or peak athleticism. It's very difficult. And it requires oftentimes a fair amount of knowledge. So here's the problem we have. When you throw a wrench in the machine and say, hey, on top of it, I'm going to make this harder for myself than it has to be. I've decided I'm going to follow this whole vegan idea for whatever reason. And no, I don't agree that it's morally superior. I actually completely disagree, but that's a different topic completely. I have no problems at all killing an animal for food, right? I have zero problems at all. I've done it many times. I don't see a morality issue. But we come over to it, people are going to throw this into the equation. You've now chosen one of the most difficult dietary approaches you can choose for someone who's really serious about their athleticism. And now you're going to have to learn even more about nutrition. You're going to have to learn more about nutrition to pull this off than you would have as it is. And people already have quite a bit they need to learn to maximize their results. There's a lot to learn. So now you've thrown in an extremely restrictive, faddish, cult-like diet in here for whatever reasons that is going to complicate the process. It is going to add complications. It's going to add complexity. It's going to add potential health problems. And it's going to have negative impacts on your quality of life trying to make it all work due to dealing with fiber, having to chug shakes all day, all of this stuff. Why make it harder? Okay? It is already difficult enough. There's already a lot of work. There's a lot of work involved. There's a lot of hardship involved with doing your best as it is. Why do people need to make it harder? It's insanity. There's no reason to do this. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.